Hey guys, it's Monique here, and today I'm excited to share with you the raw, uncut footage of my Footsteps in the Stars performance with Deya Dova that happened just recently in Salt Lake City, Utah. Taking this as an opportunity to share some reflections on my process as a performer and turn this into a little teaching piece. So if you're just here to see the performance, feel free to go ahead and skip ahead. This particular performance, I had some what we call snafus happen, which is basically some kind of mishaps, some challenges occur in the performance process, which definitely does happen. And as a performer of my entire lifetime, I grew up training in dance from the time that I was 3 and performing theater, dance, all the things. So I have a lot of experience performing and have definitely learned over the years the types of things that can happen, although there's always new things that can happen, and how to navigate them. So my little title for this teaching is, of course, The Show Must Go On. The two main things that happened in this performance was I had a costume malfunction go on, and there was also a bit of a lighting issue, which really revealed itself when I looked at the footage. As a dancer, especially when you're performing in a context where you are performing with musicians, where you're performing in a concert or at a festival or things like that, lighting can very commonly be an issue of something that arises. A lot of the lighting designers, to just be frank, aren't trained in how to navigate with performance artists. You know, a lot of lighting designers will want to have kind of dramatic lighting happen and big dynamics where the lighting is super low for a while and then it pops up, you know, when they choose, or all sorts of different filters happening. And so if you're a lighting designer, this is for you. Please note if there are performance artists on the stage and light them appropriately. There's times, of course, in a band setting where having super low kind of mysterious lighting can be really cool if there's not much happening on stage. But if somebody was paid to show up and put on an elaborate costume and perform for the audience, you want to make sure that they're lit. You want to make sure that the audience can see them. So that was one thing that happened. And I will say that everything about performing with Deya Dova and even the people hosting this particular event were all wonderful, loving, and amazing. And yet things like this happen. So you'll see in the video that for the first whole section, maybe it's an entire minute or so, you can barely see anything that's happening on the stage. It kind of works with the piece because this is a Footsteps in the Stars, very like mystical, ethereal, enchanting track. And I'm actually wearing a veil and it's supposed to be kind of mysterious, but as you'll see, you can literally barely see me. So a few tips for navigating that if you're a performer on stage and this is happening. Of course, notice if there is lighting happening somewhere on the stage, and if possible, per the direction that you were given, go to where it's actually lit. I didn't have that option because the stage was completely dark, essentially. And the other thing that you can do is really elaborate your movements, make them larger than life, a little bit more obtuse so that it can be perceived to some degree from the audience. And if you have any reflective materials to work with, like I did have in this piece, I had an big iridescent veil. and also reflective headdress and things, you can kind of work with that and make the flashiness of the reflective materials be what the audience is primarily seeing for that portion of the performance. If you're watching the performance, stick with it. The lighting does come on, and in the beginning, just enjoy the mysterious, mystical star being creature that is sort of seen through the veil. The other piece that happened, as I said, was a bit of a costume malfunction. So I did not have access to experimenting with any of the costuming until about an hour, hour and a half before the show, because I was provided the gorgeous costumes from Deya Dova. And so for that reason, I didn't have a lot of time to work with the particular veil that I was using, to figure out how everything could be securely fastened. The headdress itself was hard to fasten in general and was kind of floppy, and I did my best to fasten it, and it just wasn't enough. So you'll see in the footage that a few things happened. One, because I didn't have a lot of opportunity to practice with that particular veil, that particular piece of fabric, and the weight of it and the size of it and all of those things, it fell off before it was supposed to, and then I had to kind of work with it and play with it. You can't even really see it that well because, again, the lighting is dim during that part. But I had to improvise a lot of my choreography. So this particular piece, I choreographed a good chunk of it, and I did leave some structured improv sections so that I could sort of work with what was happening in the stage, deal with props, which I ended up needing to do. So I had to, at one point pick up the veil and kind of throw it off the stage because it had landed in the middle of my performance space. And then the headdress just immediately kept falling off because the movements that I was doing were dramatic and I was unwilling to rein it in. So you'll see I spend a little bit of time trying to fix the headdress and put it back on. And of course, the lighting goes on right when I'm in the middle of fixing the headdress, which was awesome. And you just roll with it. And then at a certain point, you'll see the headdress fell off for maybe like the third time. And at that point, I just said, I'm done with this. And I, as gracefully and quickly as possible, kind of ripped it off and threw it gently to the side. And then the other piece of the headdress was now dangling into my face for the majority of the performance. And I just rolled with it and kept going. And you'll notice that throughout the performance. So the main teaching that I want to speak to with all of this is, again, the show must go on. You will, as a performer, have costume mishaps. You'll have weird lighting things that will happen. Somebody misses a cue. You forget the choreography even. All sorts of different things can happen. And I'd say honestly, the main skill, that's kind of a extreme thing to say, but one of the main skills of a performer is having the confidence, the poise, the trust, the perseverance to be able to see through whatever it is that's showing up in the field. And of course, this is a skill that then translates directly to the stage of life. Can we roll with the punches of what happens? Can we just gracefully and effectively deal with what's going on and move on with that level of self-assurance and certainty to where the people observing maybe might not even notice that anything had happened? So all of that being said, here is my Footsteps in the Stars performance. I hope you enjoy it.